Let's pick back up with part 2 of chapter 6 and Number the Stars. At this point, the women have already traveled on the train from Copenhagen, the capital city of Denmark, out to the coast. And we're going to start off with envisioning with them, smelling with them, hearing with them what they witness when they arrive to this area. Really try to close your eyes and picture the setting. Smell the air, Mama said when they stepped off the train and made their way through the narrow street. Isn't it lovely and fresh? It always brings back memories for me. The air was breezy and cool and carried the sharp, not unpleasant smell of salt and fish. High against the pale clouds, seagulls soared and cried out as if they were mourning. Mama looked at her watch. I wonder if Henrik will be back yet. But it doesn't matter. The house is always unlocked. Come on, girls. We'll walk. It isn't far. Just a little under 2 miles, and it's a nice day. We'll take the path through the woods instead of the road. It's a little longer, but it's so pretty. Didn't you love the castle we went through in Helsinger, Ellen? Kirsty asked. She had been talking about Kronborg Castle ever since they had seen it, sprawling, massive, and ancient beside the sea from the train. I wish we could have stopped to visit the castle. Kings live there, and queens. Annemarie sighed in exasperation with her little sister. They do not, she said. They did in the old days, but there aren't any kings there now. Denmark only has 1 king anyway, and he lives in Copenhagen. But Kirsty had pranced away, skipping along the sidewalk. Kings and queens, she sang happily. Kings and queens. Mama shrugged and smiled. Let her dream, Annemarie. I did the same when I was her age. She turned, leading the way along a tiny, twisting street, heading toward the outskirts of the village. Things have hardly changed here since I was a girl, she said. My Aunt Gita lived here, in that house, she pointed. And she's been dead for years, but the house is the same. She always had wonderful flowers in her garden. She peered over the low stone wall and looked at the few flowering bushes as they passed the house. Maybe they still do, but it's the wrong time of year. There are just those few chrysanthemums left. And see over there, she pointed again, my best friend, her name was Helena. She lived in that house. Sometimes I used to spend the night with her, but more often she came to my house on weekends. It was more fun to be in the country. My brother Henrik always teased us, though, she continued with a chuckle. He told us ghost stories that scared us half to death. The sidewalk ended and Mama turned onto a dirt path bordered by trees. When I walked each morning into town for school, she said, my dog followed me this far. At the end of the path, he turned and went back home. I guess he was a country dog and didn't like town. And you know what? She went on, smiling. I had named him Trophist, faithful. And it was just the right name for him because what a faithful dog he was. Every afternoon he was right here waiting for me to return. He knew the right time somehow. Sometimes as I come around this bend, even today, I feel as if I might come upon Trophist, waiting still with his tail wagging. But the path was empty today. No people, no faithful dogs. Mama shifted the bag she was carrying from one hand to the other as they walked through the woods until the path opened to a meadow dotted with cows. Here the path skirted the edge of the field along a fence, and beyond it they could see the gray sea, ruffled by the wind. The breeze moved the high grass. At the end of the pasture, they entered the woods again, and Annemarie knew they would soon be there. Uncle Henrik's house was in a clearing beyond these woods. Do you mind if I run ahead? She asked suddenly. I want to be the first to see the house. Go on, her Mama told her. Run ahead and tell the house we've come home. Then she put her arm around Ellen's shoulder and added, say that we've brought a friend. That is the end of chapter 6. I want you to notice how especially Mrs. Johansen, Miss Inge Johansen's mood has completely changed from when she was in the tight, curfewed apartment in Copenhagen, wondering if the soldiers were going to come, being questioned by the soldiers, to now that she's made it past the soldiers on the train, and entered her coastal town in Denmark. She's back with her memories, and we can almost see her reflecting on her childhood. Every sight, every smell, every every little building brings back memories for her. She remembers her young dog, she remembers her family members, her best friend, and we're in a completely different mood in this story. I really want you to notice how Lois Lowry uses sensory details about the setting to help change our mood as we go from dialogue that brought us conflict in chapter 5 to a setting that brings us peace and calm in chapter 6. See you for the next one.